Hello everyone, welcome to Esoteric Ramblings. I'm Jesse Arnold, and today I'm bringing you my comic rundown 2021, week 30 for Wednesday, July 28th, yesterday. Everybody, welcome back to Esoteric Ramblings. So happy that you're joining me here today. I've got my comic rundown coming up here in this video for all the new books that I got this week, Wednesday, July 28th, from Comics Connection, the comic shop I work at part-time. Over here on this channel, I do movie reviews, show reviews, action figure reviews. Reviews I use lightly. It's more of just me stating my opinion. I don't get super in-depth, super literary critiquing of the things. But yeah, I just like to talk about things that I like. Comic books, especially stuff that's like fantasy and adventure, sci-fi stuff, all of this. I really enjoy just kind of sharing my love for all things geeky and nerdy, or whatever term you want to use for it. And I have my whole life, and it's nice to get an opportunity to share this with other people. And hopefully I can provide some suggestions and things that you might not know about, or that maybe I give a spin on something that makes you want to try it out. But at the end of the day, everybody likes different stuff for different reasons, and this is why I like the stuff I like. So my comic rundown, I go through my new books. Number one's up front, then alphabetically, and then my cover pick of the week, and my top three. If you're new, that's how this video works. And I'll be back on Friday with a review of last week's and this week's episode of The Bad Batch. And I'll be back Monday with, Monday, someone was asking about my, one of my friends over on Instagram was asking about this rogue statue back here, the Savage Land Rogue. And I think I'm just going to go through my rogue collectibles back over there, just to go through all of them and show off my rogue stuff and the random She-Hulk I have standing there. It's because I was too lazy to get the ladder out and put it up over here where it belongs. All right, so we'll start with, first up, the, it's not a trade, but it is the big book item collected edition thing of the week, is the Joelle Jones poster portfolio from DC Comics. This is a nice big book. I mean, you can see how big it is compared to a regular size comic here. You know, it's a nice big, I don't have my ruler handy to tell you how big it is. I want to say it's like, the art I think is like 11 by 14 inside, but it's 20 of her. Ooh. Oh, my chair's not locked. 20 of Joelle Jones' best or most popular covers from DC. And yeah, it's great. I really have a couple of these portfolios for different artists, and it was really excited to add a Joelle Jones one to the collection. They do have a nice tear out on the page, kind of like a notepad. It's kind of got the glue inside that you can pull it out. Just be really careful if you do. It's not perforated, so you don't have to rip too hard. It's just getting that nice pull. If you want to take them out, you can frame them or whatever. At this point, I don't have any wall space to put up any more framed things. Much to the disappointment of my full-time job, where I work at a custom frame shop, which would be ideal, but I would have too many posters and things just in stacks frames. I'd need a whole storage unit just to store posters and prints if I did everything I have. All right, so yeah, check that out if you like art prints that are bigger than the comic. And I think it's like $25 or so for that whole book. So it's like $1 something a print. Yeah. All right, number one from Marvel is Amazing Fantasy. Doing a nice throwback to one of their original titles, where we first met Spider-Man way back in the day. And yes, that is Captain America riding a flying winged lion with a battle axe and his shield in a barbarian-esque fantasy. I absolutely love this cover, and it came very close to being my cover pick of the week, but and maybe it should have been, I don't know. I really like the art on this. This was a fun story. It looks like you take we're taking three of our Marvel heroes and setting them into different realities or a different thing. So I'm assuming they'll all collide at some point. But yeah, it's a really cool new adventure. And taking my classic Marvel characters and throwing them into a Lord of the Rings sword and sorcery type adventure, I absolutely love that. So yes, give me more. Up next, Amazing Spider-Man 71, part of the Sinister War. I'm going to hold off judgment on the Sinister War concept until the story has run its course. I am a little burnt out with the whole Peter being held responsible for all the things that he has done in his villain's eyes. I feel like that's been a going theme through all 70 issues of this series, and it's getting really drawn out, in my opinion, for a storyline. But I'm going to reserve judgment on how it actually plays out until it's all over to see if my tune changes. We'll see. Up next is Berserker number 4 from Matt Kindt and Keanu Reeves, following the immortal ancient assassin warrior as they dive deeper into his past and his origins, as he gets therapy, as they try to figure out more about him. There's a nice new element added that has put a nice new hook in it that's got me, not that I was getting bored, but it's given like a new element that I'm hungry for as far as storyline. So be really cool to see what goes on in this book in the next 8 issues, as it is a 12-issue series. Speaking of 12 issues, we have reached the end of Cable number 12, from Phil Noto and Jerry. I don't know why I was going to call him Gary. Jerry Duggan writing. This is just, I've never been a huge Cable fan, but I really enjoyed this series following young Cable, and as they slowly brought adult Cable back into it. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that. I'll do another X-Men rant at some point if yeah. Moving on. Daredevil number 32 from Chip Zdarsky and art by Mike Hawthorne. And others. Mike Hawthorne did the pencils. Adriano Di Benedetto is the inker, and Marcio Menez is the colorist. This is continuing on the story that was set up during what became a King in Black story, where Elektra has taken on the mantle of Daredevil in Hell's Kitchen while Matt is in prison as Daredevil. And it's dealing with now a crazy Bullseye on the loose, just targeting people. So it's touchy subject matter for some people, I think. And if this was real, it would be absolutely horrifying. So comics always do a weird way of bringing in real life situations into comic books, and kind of, because they're superheroes and people with powers, it kind of disassociates with reality, at least for me, as far as like the impact of what the subject matter is, if that makes sense. But it's really interesting to see Elektra confronting Bullseye again. I don't have a long history of being a Daredevil reader. I have read different arcs over times, and I don't think any of the stuff I've read really involved them. I know their history, or of some of their history, so anyway, it's really cool to see that. Eternals number 6 from Kieran Gillen, Sud Ribic, and Matthew Wilson. This issue is a nice, it's a nice finale to the initial arc, but it is definitely a good seed for what is to come. And I don't expect the movie to follow this storyline, but there are some things, because I went into this book knowing the Eternals existed, and that was pretty much it. But I really enjoyed the way this final issue played out, or a final issue of the storyline, and I'm going to keep it on my subscription list, because I was only going to read the first 6 issues initially, but I think I'm going to keep it and see where it goes. Harley Quinn number 6, getting some DC flavor here. I'm still enjoying this series. I love the narration as Harley is talking to the audience, and just the different insights into her mind and how she's viewing things. I like seeing her try to be more heroic, but still resorting to her own ways of doing it. So yeah, Harley Quinn 5 was pretty cool. They set up a couple things that I'm hoping isn't what's going to happen, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. It was nice to be excited to see Solomon Grundy come in this issue, and be excited that he shows up to help save the day. So I guess minor spoiler warning, but they've already set him up in the previous issues that he's working with them, so not that big of a spoiler. Valkyries, the Mighty Valkyries, issue 4. Oop, I had a hard time holding my books today. This is cool. This cover really sets up an antagonism between Thor and Runa, the now named Valkyrie. We'll see if they give her that name, because she was inspired by Tessa Thompson's portrayal of the Valkyrie from Thor Ragnarok. So we'll see if we give her a name in the movies, or if she'll just keep going by Valkyrie. Since Valkyrie was a group, not specifically a singular person. Yeah, this issue is really fun. I've really been enjoying this storyline. Seeing Jane Foster continue on as a Valkyrie, and the different ways that plays with her mind, and how her personality and her Valkyrie persona are two different beings. It's not just Jane, driving a souped up body. The art in this book is absolutely gorgeous, and has a great finale on the last page to set up what is coming, I believe, in what will be the finale issue, in issue 5. Yes, issue 5 will be the last issue for this. So hopefully Jason Aaron continues this story on somewhere else, whether it's another Valkyrie title or what, I don't know. I feel like there's got to be more, and I don't want to stop reading Jason Aaron being involved in the Thor mythology just yet, even though he's not on the Thor book anymore. All right, I am gonna keep going, because we've gone through a third of the books this week. There's so many more to go. Star Wars, issue 15, part of War for the Bounty Hunters, as we follow Luke and the Starlight Squadron as they are trying to reunite part of the Rebel fleet after they've been decimated prior to the War of the Bounty Hunter storyline, and then how Luke is getting pulled to help Leia and them rescue Han from this situation. So I feel like we're getting closer to the end of this, and then I realized there is 3, 6, 12. There are 18. There are 18 more issues to go in the War for the Bounty Hunters, which I'm totally fine with. But I feel like that's going to get us even more closer to the end of the gap between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So I'm wondering if next year will kick off post Return of the Jedi stuff. That's just me speculating. Because I imagine there can't be a whole lot of gap, because the way I understand, there's only a year time period between the end of Empire and Return of the Jedi, whereas there was 3 years between New Hope and Empire. So keep coming. I'm still loving it, still enjoying it. There's just a lot more to the storyline than I was expecting. Also in the Star Wars universe, issue 7 of The High Republic. They have introduced a really interesting villain in this series. The Draugr, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. This kind of like spore plant-like infestation, which we've not really seen, at least I've not read that kind of character or species in the Star Wars. So I'm really enjoying this weird kind of infestation vibe and how it's messing with some of the Jedi. And again, I'm still really loving this kind of High Republic era with the height of the Jedi Order at its best, at least what we've seen so far at its best. I'm going to be completely honest, I only read the parts with Doom and Storm in this issue. I will probably go back and read the rest of it, but Sword, issue 7, is a tie-in with Guardians of the Galaxy, The Last Annihilation. I caught some of it, but I didn't read too in-depth. I was really intrigued by the Doom and Storm scenario. And again, it's part of it was really cool, but again, we're playing into the whole thing where it feels like most of the mutants are leaning into Magneto's claim of them being homo superior and being the best things in the world. And even though I think the X-Men are the best thing in the world, it's weird seeing all of them thinking they're the best thing in the world, and the attitudes that are coming with it are just not quite what I want it to be. Doom, the Doom and Storm storyline in this issue was really cool though, but it pulled out versions of her that I saw in the Children of the Atom that I did not like, and it just kind of doubled down on them. So we'll see what happens going forward with this. I think I might be drawing to a close on my run of Sword at this point as well. Up next, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Annual 2021. Usually the Turtles land at my number one spot for the week. And this issue is very good. It almost made the top 3, but there were a couple things I just enjoyed a little bit more this week. But it was a strong contender. Annuals are always a little bit tricky because it's so densely packed. There's a lot in here. It was kind of recap and revisiting characters to set up the next story arc, which I'm excited for. But that's where that's at for this one. Up next, we got the United States of Captain America, issue number 2, featuring the new Captain America of Harrisburg, my city. Well, my city in that it's the next, it's the city. If you live in Joliet and you're not from the Chicago area, you just tell people you live from Chicago. You live in Chicago or around Chicago. Harrisburg is kind of the thing I would tell to people who don't know Pennsylvania. The fact that they would know any of my small towns without knowing Pennsylvania, probably wouldn't know them. They might know Harrisburg if they remember their state capitals, but it's not really well known for anything. It is in between Gettysburg and Hershey, where Hershey's chocolate is from. But it's really cool to see a Captain America of Harrisburg in this story. I, again, like the Captain Marvel issue last week, I really enjoyed the backup story in this more than the main story. I felt some of the dialogue in the main story just did not feel quite like Sam and Steve talking to each other. But we do get to see a little bit more behind what's going on. These people they're trying to target and take down Captain America, and it does feel like it's spilling right out of the pages of the Captain America book itself. So I am liking that it's connecting and it's not just its own thing. But we do get some pages in the backup story. In the first half of the book, the art, none of it necessarily looks like Harrisburg. Not that there's a whole lot of super distinctive things in Harrisburg. I mean, there are, but it's not like New York City or Chicago where you just see certain things like, oh, that's those places. But I am going to show a panel from inside. This there's a shot that they really nail. We have a lot of bridges over the Susquehanna River, and they really nailed this. There's kind of like a walking path down by the bridges. So I just really liked a couple things in the backup story that, there's some big buildings downtown, some office towers and stuff, but it's a relatively lower scaled city. So it was really cool to see the dynamic, and I feel like the characters they have fit the Harrisburg personality I go over to the city every now and then. I don't spend a lot of time in Harrisburg, but I mean, my dad lived there for a while when I was a kid, and I would spend weekends with him. But yeah, it was just cool to see our local city featured on the cover in print. And it would have been so easy to do Philadelphia, because of the Declaration of Independence and all these different things and what it means for America. So it was really cool to see Harrisburg there, and Cap and Sam meet up in Gettysburg, which is really cool. You get a little flashback with Steve. Remember going there as a scout field trip of some sort or something like that when he was a kid. So moving on, Wolverine number 14. Wolverine is investigating some troubles with the Marauder, the ship that the Marauders used that got attacked. Wolverine, I might be drawing to a close on my reading of Wolverine as well. It's not that it's bad, it's just I have so many books, and my interest in the stories going on here, not necessarily the way they're being told, just aren't quite there. Wonder Woman 776. Again, I skimmed through this one. I don't know, something about this one just was not landing for me. The artwork is really interesting. I really like the art style in this issue. Is it Conrad? written? DC always puts their information in weird places. Sometimes it's at the very end, sometimes at the beginning. I don't know. But it's continuing Wonder Woman's journey through the different realms, and it's pulling in more of the stuff with Siegfried, or Siggy as she calls him, which for some reason I just don't enjoy that dynamic of calling him Siggy. Maybe it's just because I watched Vikings and Siggy was the queen. And it's just throwing a weird connotation in my mind. I don't know. I don't know. I don't need the Steve, Trevor, and Diana dynamic. I don't know. I'm not quite into the Wonder Woman and Siggy thing. But yeah, it's cool. It has an interesting conclusion to this issue that I won't spoil, but it is making me a little more excited to see where it's going next. Wonder Woman, Black and Gold, another cool double cover with, for once, the Josh Middleton cover did not make my pick of the week, even though it is absolutely stunning and gorgeous. Feels like a nice mix between the TriStar and Columbia Pictures bumpers from the movies. I absolutely love it. And this awesome Rachel Dodson cover is great. I really love the coloring in this book, where they just stick to, black, white, and gold and shades of gray. This is a really cool issue with a lot of cool little short stories. And I don't say little to be demeaning, but just like they're short stories. I think there's like five stories in this. It's an anthology series. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5. So yeah, and there's lots of varying art styles and looks, but it's a really fun series, seeing different takes on elements of Diana, Wonder Woman's life and everything. So it's really cool if you want to check out Black and Gold issue 2. And we're now down to the end of it. Well, almost. We're at my cover choice of the week, and it was really tough to choose between this and The Amazing Fantasy, but I picked Sweet Paprika #1 from Mirka Andolfo, the Art Germ cover. I just really liked. There's a different feel to his art in this one. There's just something a little bit different that I liked. I like the city, the perspective, and everything. The issue itself, I'm not going to continue on with the series. I specifically got this just for the Art Germ cover. It is a fun series if you liked the Unnatural or Andolfo's other one, the Unsacred with the Angel and the Demon. Like, this is probably going to be more. I did enjoy those, but I need a break, I think, from those kind of story ideas. And I think this one just might be a little and with Money Shot, having Money Shot, which I don't have this week because we got the black bag variant in, so I'm waiting to get the non-black bag variant so I can show it on the channel. So I didn't get to read that one yet, but I'm sure it's just as good as all the rest of them. All right, so top 3. Number 3 for the week, Marvel Comics #9, Black Widow. This awesome Adam Hughes cover with Natasha and Yelena riding away on a motorcycle. And I love the storytelling that Kelly Thompson is doing in here, and Elena Casagrande and Rafael de la Torre on pencils are just killing it with this issue. This series might have surpassed my love for the I think it's Nathan Edmondson, Phil Noto series. They're at least tied, but I'm really enjoying this series. I thought this was just going to be a mini series, so I'm so glad it's still going. Because it's playing into the aspects of Black Widow that I like a lot, like her character, her relationship with other characters, how she views things. It's not just action and violence and trying to be like dark and gritty. Like, there's a really cool element to this book that I'm really enjoying. Number 2 for the week from Vault Comics is Barbaric issue 2. I believe this is a 4 or 5 issue series. And it is really cool, following the exploits of this barbarian. I believe his name is Owen, who I could be wrong about that, but this barbarian who has this axe that makes him help people when they ask for help. So it's not necessarily always a good thing, but when someone calls for help, he has to respond. And we met a witch at the end of the last issue, pictured here, and it's now dealing with the consequences of what was going on with her and her story, and how he's getting pulled into that mess. So it's very much Conan-y tropes, but with like a complete flip and twist to it, where it's familiar yet new, and I really enjoy it. Also, the art is fantastic. Speaking of fantastic, my number one pick of the week is Fantastic Four, number 35, part 3 of the Bride of Doom, with the bombshells that got dropped in the last issue. It was really interesting to see the fallout of this, and it feels like we have gotten Doom to be in, at least in my reading experience with him, at his most volatile and sensitive to going off moment in my reading of stories with Doom. So yeah, this was a really great issue, classic Fantastic Four. You've got Black Panther and Namor in here, so there's a really interesting dynamic with them. Namor is, of course, always still hitting on Sue, which is gross but also kind of funny to see, just because it's been so long since I've seen them interacting in that way. So yeah, that is my rundown for the week. I am going to do a quick rundown through my previews came out this week, so I wanted to point out a couple things. I don't have the book in front of me. DC's got well, it's not from previews, but DC's Connect is offering us Catwoman Lonely City, a new miniseries, Aquaman and Green Arrow Deep Target miniseries, a multi-covers for the 80th anniversary of Wonder Woman, so make sure you contact your comic shop and find out which covers you want. A new Wonder Woman Historia, The Amazons, which looks kind of like a really cool, epic backstory for the Amazons. I'm really excited about that one. A new Marvel Voices community one-shot. Ms. Marvel, Marvel Tales. I'm getting most of the Marvel Tales. I skipped out on a couple that were more event-based, but I try to get the ones that are character-focused. A new Eternal Celestia. I believe it's either a one-shot or a 2-issue miniseries that ties into the current Eternal stuff. More Star Wars Bounty Hunters, like I mentioned earlier. Magic Order from Mark Millar and Stuart Eminem is coming back. Magic Order 2, Series 2, and I'm just so happy to see Stuart Eminem coming back to pencils. I really enjoy his work, and I'm excited for that. Mom, Mother of Madness from Amelia Clark and crew that I reviewed last week is getting a hardcover special edition collection. I believe that's coming out in November or December. TMNT Best of April is coming if you've been collecting the best ofs. Let's see. I missed it. I must have been in last month's previews. I missed it, but I'm adding the Turbo Kid movie is getting, it's called Apple's Lost Adventure. So a comic about Apple, the character Apple from Turbo Kid, which I highly recommend that movie. If you like 80s, 90s, like kind of nostalgia stuff that feels like a movie that should have been made in the 80s or 90s, but didn't and got made now. So it's really great. So check it out. I believe it's on Amazon or Netflix. Highly recommend Turbo Kid. See, there's a Star Wars Clone Wars official collector's edition. They've got the newsstand cover, an exclusive cover, and a hardcover. Barbaric is getting its hardcover. And yeah, I think that's it for my preview. So that's kind of my rundown of what I'm getting from preview. So find out when your shop, the book just came out, so you've probably got some time, but find out when your shop wants your previews orders in and get them in. If you don't use previews, which is Diamond's like monthly catalog of books, just talk to your shop, find out what's coming out. We always make recommendations based on what people read and try to like be like, hey, you read Batman, here's a new Batman thing, or like, hey, you read Walking Dead, here's a new zombie book, which I know zombies and Walking Dead aren't just a 1-to-1 ratio, but it's the way we kind of get stuff to people. to suggest if they're not reading previews. But yeah, previews is great. I know DC has its own book, the DC Direct, and Marvel has its own book in connection with previews from Diamond. But I know Marvel is going to be splitting off and doing their own distribution, I believe, with a different distributor later this year. But more news on that as it develops when I have some info to share on that. But that's it. This has been a really long comic rundown, so I'm going to end it here. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching. If you had any questions or comments, hit me up in the messages below. I will see you guys next time for a Bad Batch video tomorrow and next week with all new stuff. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. Take care. And as always, ramble on.